Hi guys, how you doing, man? My name is Malagant, coming up to you with itemization on LeapQuake. Pretty much, we're going to be talking about all the items and their stats that we would like to get, especially at the really end game, where things become a little hectic to find the right item with the right stats. So I'm going to be saying which stat is the most important for me when it comes to which item. Let's just jump into it right away. So for the weapon over here, the Blade of the Tribes, you don't really have much of an option. In my opinion, you do want like strength, vitality, they're really high rolls. You cannot really replace them. Earthquake damage is coming by itself. So you kind of have like only 3, or maybe if you count the secondary as well, 4 stats that you can play with. And my choice has always been vitality, strength, damage, and on top of that, on the secondary, maximum fury. I would say that like the strength, damage, and the maximum fury is kind of a must. You can play with vitality if you want, changing it to something else. And I would most likely change it into area damage if I had to. But 1.4, yeah, 1400 vitality can roll. That's just too big. My rolls are quite bad over here, but I couldn't really find a better weapon. So that is just too much of vitality. That's about like 140,000 HP if I'm not mistaken to replace. That's quite hard to get. So I would say this weapon over here with the stats is pretty good. As I said, on the secondary, maximum fury is almost a must to get on your weapon. Like, you can definitely start off a season with a shittier weapon that doesn't have the secondary, but at some point you really want to get this maximum fury. Then I'll be speaking about why that is on the LeapQuake breakdown, because it has something to do with your cooldown reduction pretty much. When it comes to boots, I tend to skip the movement speed because we can easily get it from the Paragon points, and instead I'm going for the armor. But that being said, you can have movement speed rolls on your boots. Instead of that though, I would definitely go for armor, as I said, on all the boots that I have. Other than that, the other 3 stats that it can roll for, in my opinion, must be vitality, strength, and all resistances. When it comes to all resistance, we kind of want it from every single piece possible that we can fit it into. The reasoning is because we have really high strength, so therefore the first mitigation armor is really high, but our weaker point is the resistances. Just a quick cover up how mitigation works in Diablo 3 is that the damage comes, it goes through your armor first, and then it goes through the corresponding resistance of the damage type. So if it's a physical, it will go through armor, and then it will go through the physical, then it will go through your HP pool. That being said, so our resistances are really bad, and all resistance is a stat that is covering every single one of these. So wherever we can fit the all resistance, we kind of want to, even in the case of like replacing vitality, which I'll be talking about when it comes to like those pieces as well. That being said, boots are one of the pieces that we really want all resistance, and if you have a secondary stat that is giving you a resistance, bear in mind that you cannot have all resistance on the primary. That is not for only boots, that's for all the equipment. So you want all resistance, pretty much a must. So like the stuff that you can play around on the boots is pretty much vitality and armor, instead of maybe movement speed and maybe some damage type, but which we don't really need on LeapQuake. On the secondary, I'll say this once and for all for like useless secondaries. If you have all resistance on the armor piece, on the secondary, you don't have much option. Like pickup radius, life after kill, and improvements on the health pickup, health globe pickup is pretty much all you can get for, all you can hope for. And in this case, my boost secondaries, they're all dead. They're really bad. But I couldn't really find a better boost than this, and I don't think we'll be finding anytime soon either. Now, when it comes to pens, this is a tricky one. I think I went with armor here because it was too big. But to be honest with you, if I find a good strength and vitality roll with all resistance, I would pretty much replace these two. So just because of the reasons that I have already explained about the resistances over here, I think all resistance might be better to get the 3rd primary stat of the pens, which they only give 3 primary stats if I'm not mistaken. So if you would roll all resistance on the primary, same goes with the secondaries, then you kind of want something like, you know, health globe bonus, life after kill, maybe pickup radius and stuff like that. On the Girdle of Giants, our belts, we kind of want like strength, vitality, and life per fury spent for sure, as high as we can get, especially the life per fury spent, since we are not getting it from our weapon over here. That being said, the third stat, like life percentage, it can either be life percentage or all resistance. Both of them are really, really good belts. On the secondary, if you have life percentage on the main, on the secondary you kind of want physical resistance every single time. If you're playing with esoteric alteration, remember that it is saying cold, fire, lightning, poison, and arcane. It doesn't say physical resistance. So therefore, the physical damage that's going to be coming, it's going to go through your armor, and then it's going to go through your physical resistance, and this gem over here is not going to cover anything. So the damage between the magic damage that you're taking and the physical damage that you're taking is going to be really huge. That being said, on every single secondary that we can fit in physical resistance, you kind of want to fit it in, and it stacks pretty good. If you can reach about like 1.5 physical resistance, you're going to be saying that, you know what, I can take a hit or two. Other than that, on the secondary, the second secondary that you want is Maximum Fury. It's almost a must. It just makes your playstyle a lot easier. As I said, I'll be covering that on the other video when I break down the LeapQuake playthrough too. Well, you kind of want like a good roll when it comes to Seismic Slam, increasing the Earthquake's damage, but that's a no-brainer. Now, with the rings, there's not much of an option, especially if they're ancient. They're rolling up to like 650 strength, if I'm not mistaken. That's too much to replace. And on the other two stats, you kind of want critical hit damage and critical hit chance. Those are not replaceable for sure. You do want those two rolls for sure. Maybe you can replace the strength instead of the area damage, I would say. On the secondaries, this ring is pretty good. Like, the physical resistance is already covered, so I don't really care about the thorns damage. That's that stat. But another really valuable secondary would be for the rings is that impair reduction. You know, the control impairing effects reduced. That stats can be rolled on the rings and the Emmy as well, if I'm not mistaken. And you kind of want at least one item. So these four can roll it, like Helm, Emmy, and rings. You want one of these items at least to be rolling for reduced duration control impairing effects. I think that makes your playthrough a lot easier as a Leap Barb. Even though it is quite easy for us to avoid, you know, stuns and freeze. Sometimes you can get caught into it. Let's check the braces, Quake. These were really painful for me to get. I don't think there's anything that you can change here. Maybe instead of the Vitality, you can go for all resistance. Those would be really, really good braces as well, as long as they roll it really high. So I would say 3 must to get is like fire damage, strength, and critical hit chance. On top of that, I would take Vitality, but as I said, like all resistance would be really, really good as well. On the secondary, if you have Vitality on the primary, you want physical resistance, hands down. After the physical resistance, I would say like the most valuable one is lightning, but fire is okay as well. So I'm playing with Nemesis when I'm not doing something that is challenging. You know, we don't really need the Python defenders, so I'm helping others with like Nemesis or like just solo content, just make it faster. But my Nemesis braces are quite bad. Let's check the chest here. Chest is a really tricky one, to be honest with you, because there's 2 stats that I really want from the chest, which is strength and all resistance. And the third stat, I really cannot decide. I'll let you decide for your own. It can be vitality, it can be armor, it can be life percentage, it can be earthquake damage, it can be reduced damage from the elites. Now, I have called out 5 stats that are incredibly good, in my opinion. I would probably dump life percentage and armor. They're remaining 3 that are really good. So, vitality, earthquake damage, and reduction from elites. In this case, I have taken the earthquake damage, and I would say to me these 3 stats are the most valuable ones when it comes to a chest. So all resistance, strength, and earthquake damage. But you might want to play with something else, and to be honest with you, it wouldn't be that much of a difference. Now I wanted to show you this chest over here when it comes to the secondaries, because getting secondaries on a chest is really hard. The optimal secondaries, at least. Now, this chest over here is capable of getting it if you're happy with the primaries, which we are not, obviously. Just don't look at it as dog shit. But the secondaries is a good example over here. Like, the chest is a really unique piece that you can get incredibly good secondary stats. Reduces damage from ranged attacks, 7% already rolled away. And we can roll this physical resistance into reduced damage from melee attacks. So what you want is on your chest So you want strength, all resistance, earthquake damage as primary, and on secondary you want range damage reduction, melee damage reduction, and good luck getting that. I mean, it's quite hard to get it, but that is kind of the dream, I think. So jumping into gloves here, I would say gloves is kind of not open for discussion almost, because like it has really high stat rolls, and critical hit damage and critical hit chance are like pretty much our bread and butter. So you kind of want all those four: strength, vitality, critical hit damage, and critical hit chance. If you really want, you can replace vitality with area damage, but it is kind of questionable. 100,000 HP going away, like how are you going to replace that? It's really questionable. On the secondary, it's the same deal again. You want physical resistance, and on top of that, you know, maybe pick up radius, maybe life after kill, stuff like that are good. Never thorns, please. Now, these shoulders is another piece that is quite hard to obtain, especially with the right stats. And in my opinion, this is not that open to discussion either. This is the only piece. Well, this is one of the only pieces. Okay, yeah, chest is the other one that I'm sacking vitality for another stat here, actually. So, in shoulders, there's 4 stats that you already really want that vitality cannot fit in. So those are like strength, all resistance, chance to deal area damage, and then reduce cooldown. About reduce cooldown in our spec, just a small note here. I'll say, to my experience, it's a must to have 8% more than the gem. Like, that is the minimum that you can play with. So 12.5 that is coming from the Helm gem, and on top of that there's the 8% that's coming from anywhere that you choose from, and I think the shoulders is the most affordable one. So we are making vitality into reduce cooldown of all skills by 8%, and 8 is kind of must. On top of this, I'll be talking about it more on the other video with the breakdown, but just a little bit more comments on this, that you kind of want a lot of... Oh, my game crashed, great. Yeah, you kind of want a lot of maximum fury. So from the shoulders, what do we have? We have nice black screen over here. I can just switch to this. Yo, what up? We have like nice black screen, and we have strength, all resistance, area damage, and cooldown reduction. Those 4 stats are pretty much like a must to get, I would say. So there's not so much room remaining for the vitality. On the secondary stats, it's the same deal again, but since you're putting all resistance to your shoulders, you cannot roll a physical resistance there. So therefore you want like health globe bonus, you know, pick up radius, same thing again. Maybe life after kill, those stats are what is coming to my mind. On one of the last pieces over here is the Helm. It's not really that up to discussion either. Strength and vitality rolls are really high, and then on top of that you kind of want the critical hit chance. On the secondaries, you definitely would like physical resistance again, if not probably lightning resistance, which I couldn't find, which is the only questionable, you know, stat on this Helm. This is a godlike Helm, because that is the only questionable stat on it. But the reduced duration of the control impairing effects by 40% is just crazy. Just if you're frozen by any chance, you know, it's reducing the time that you're spending frozen by half. That's just crazy. So that, as I said, like, you do want that stat in either one of your rings, amulets, or your Helm, and you're good to go pretty much. Like, double is quite an overkill, but especially for us, we're not really getting control that often. So for the Amulet, I don't think this one is really open for discussion either, to be honest with you. There's this really high strength roll. It has really high critical hit damage and critical hit chance. So you kind of want to like maximize those 3 stats and get the highest one. But obviously in this case I have Relentless over here. You might want to be playing with Ruthless instead. So on top of these 4 passives, you kind of want Ruthless. That's the most offensive way to go in most of the cases in LeapQuake. I'll be talking about why Relentless later on as well. But in the stat video, like, you probably want physical resistance on the secondary, on the last one. That's pretty much it. I really hope this video was useful for your itemization for your LeapQuake Barbarian Beast. Sorry for the cut down over there. I have no idea why my game crashed. I'll catch you later.